Welcome to Carolina One Video Training Series. In today's session, we will be looking at sections 4 and 5 of the Agreement to Buy and Sell Residential Real Estate.
Okay, section 4 of our residential real estate agreement deals with conveyance, closing, and possession. And right out of the gate, you need to make a determination of your closing date. Typically, that's going to be anywhere from 45 to 60 days from the time in which you write the offer. That'll give you enough time to take care of all the lending issues, the inspections, the repairs, etc. Of course, you want to have a conversation with your lender in order to determine exactly the amount of time that's needed, and of course, working closely with the buyer as well as the seller and the listing agent to determine an appropriate closing date. Remember, this is a negotiable item. If you're doing a cash transaction, it certainly will probably close a lot quicker. Just keep that in mind. Next thing is that there is an opportunity for you to place in an automatic extension. This is pretty much something that's centered in case there's an issue that arises either with the lender, with the attorney, something that's really at no fault of either of the party, that allows the agreement to continue moving forward for a set number of days. What we typically see in these agreements is a number of 5. Of course, it is a negotiable item, so you could have 5 business days, 7 business days, 2 business days. It is negotiable, but it's designed there in case the buyer or seller, something they didn't do, it's not at fault of them, but in order to prevent having to rewrite and or amend this particular agreement. The rest of this paragraph deals with conveyance and what is supposed to convey with the property, and you can read through that. It's pretty self-explanatory. Certainly don't forget to have your buyers and, of course, the seller's initial at the bottom of the page. And the next thing that you're going to have to fill in is in this section where you have to record how the buyers wish to take title, and so the names that they would like to have the title to the property recorded in, and so you want to communicate with the buyer as to how they wish that to take place. Everything else here just deals with typical closing materials as far as the property being reasonably clean, the property being vacant, what the seller's supposed to bring to closing, etc. Section number 5 deals with earnest money, and there are some things here that we need to be aware of. First of all, just note that when it comes to earnest money, this first section deals with the amounts of that money and how that money will be delivered to the seller or to the listing agent or to the escrow agent. First blank is where you can write in the total amount of the earnest money. So if the total earnest money, let's just say, is $1,000, you'd write $1,000 there. And then the next few blanks deal with how that earnest money will be delivered. And you have a couple of options here. You can deliver the earnest money with the offer, or you can deliver the earnest money later on as once you have a ratified contract. So again, if earnest money, let's say, for example, you have $1,000 earnest money, you have a couple options. You can say earnest money is to be paid as follows: $1,000 right here. This line won't blank in for me, but $1,000 is going to accompany the offer, and $0 will be paid within 0 business days. Or you could say $0 will accompany this offer, and $1,000 will be paid within 2 business days after the effective date. So you've got a couple of options there. Big thing on earnest money, obviously, is certainly making sure that you have the earnest money in hand when it comes time to write the offer. And earnest money is either in the form of a check or electronic wiring. If somebody wants to pay in cash, we encourage them to make that into good funds, i.e. a money order or something to that effect. Of course, earnest money is going to be credited to the buyer, and it'll be used at closing. And earnest money can be distributed in really one of 4 ways. And this section here is pretty important for you to be familiar with, and it's actually talked about again down below. But earnest money can be dispersed in really one of 4 ways. One, the parties can agree in writing. So let's say the contract something happens and contract needs to be terminated, then the parties can agree in writing through a release of contract agreement to disperse the earnest money. Secondly, it can be dispersed by court order, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Thirdly, it can be dispersed by the contract itself, and there are several places in this contract that stipulates if certain things are not done, that one of the parties may terminate the agreement and receive the earnest money. And then, of course, it can be dispersed at closing by the closing attorney in order to make sure the closing goes through. The next blank to be aware of is the buyer and seller determine who the escrow agent is going to be. So you'd write in the name of the company, not the name of the list agent or buyer's agent, but the name of the company that is going to hold that earnest money, who's going to be the escrow agent. Down below, there's some language bolded in, all caps, some legal language here dealing again with earnest money, and in case there is a dispute on earnest money and how that disbursement is going to take place. And again, it reiterates what we talked about in the previous paragraph. There is a blank here that you may want to be aware of and fill in. It has to deal with if there's interpleader action needing to be taken, and if so, there's going to be a fee associated with that, and of course the parties will be responsible for that fee. I recommend you put a number of $200 in that blank, and that'll be a sufficient amount in case there is a need to ever file interpleader. So again, these two paragraphs deal with the closing dates as well as the earnest money. Read through those, get familiar with them, particularly on how earnest money is dispersed. That oftentimes can become a sticking point if a contract goes awry. We'll look at the rest of the contract in our next sessions.